The betrothed French princess, Madeleine of Valois, could arrive in Prague before the end of the year 1457. What would this mean for Aliska, his fleeting beloved? Most likely, Aliska would be immediately dismissed, as it was said that the future queen was quite beautiful. Anger and resentment are the worst advisors, especially in matters of the heart. It's a pity that King Ladislaus Posthumus did not know this. Ladislaus' father, Albert II, who was king 3 times, died 4 months before his birth. The ruler of Hungary, Bohemia, and Germany, who had dedicated many years to fighting the Turks, met his end in a tragically absurd manner of dysentery. The pregnant Queen Elizabeth prayed desperately for the Lord to send her a son. She had already lost one little boy, and since then only daughters had been born. Now, with the throne vacant, she needed a true heir. Her joy knew no bounds when Ladislaus was born on February 22, 1440. He was almost immediately given the nickname Posthumus. In the 15th century, even the most legitimate heirs to thrones could not sleep peacefully, as the law of the strong was never revoked. A baby king, of course, could not lead an army, so Ladislaus' greedy relatives stretched their hands toward 2 crowns. Alas, only 2. His close relative, Frederick III, almost immediately claimed the German crown. However, the boy's mother did not object. Better to lose one throne than all at once. Besides, Frederick promised them protection. At the same time, Elizabeth understood perfectly well that alliances, even with relatives, were no guarantee of a stable future. Therefore, she sought to crown the little one as the ruler of Hungary as quickly as possible. She prudently arranged for all the necessary regalia, including the crown of St. Stephen, to be smuggled out. In May 1440, Ladislaus officially became the king of Hungary. But he was not alone. From the south, the Turks were pressing in, and part of the nobility voted to make the Polish king Vladislav the ruler of Hungary, and thus its protector. The Pole was crowned as well. Hungary suddenly found itself with 2 kings, each with their own group of supporters. Another legitimate crown of Ladislaus, the Czech one, was also eager to slip away. Although the rights of the boy king were recognized by the majority, a bold faction of the Hussites, led by George of Podbrady, broke into the capital and seized Prague. Thus, Ladislaus was only nominally considered the ruler of Hungary and Bohemia. Decisions were made without him. Time passed, and the boy grew. The balance of power in Europe continued to shift, and someone who had recently seemed like a mere insignificant offspring of a noble family could at any moment become a key player in determining destinies. Frederick, the German relative under whose protection Ladislaus had grown up, quickly sensed the winds of change, and the king was turned into a prisoner twice over. Before long, negotiations for Ladislaus began. The second king of Hungary perished in battle at Varna, and the nobility remembered their rightful sovereign. Things were not straightforward in Bohemia either. George of Podbrady was an extremely unpopular figure for many, prompting a significant portion of the aristocracy to desire Ladislaus' ascension. However, Frederick was in no hurry to part with his hostage. He hoped to make a good profit from this deal. He might have managed to outplay everyone, but unexpectedly, the Austrian nobility rose up. Strangely enough, many were willing to fight for Ladislaus' rights, or perhaps for the potential benefits of his coronation. But Frederick III was made to understand that it would be better to release the boy to his own lands. Just to be safe, Ladislaus finally became the true king of Hungary and Bohemia. He was greeted with enthusiasm, and songs were sung in his honor. How splendid this golden-haired youth with delicate features seemed to everyone. But, of course, Ladislaus Posthumus was still very young, only 13 years old. As a result, he was inexperienced and completely unaware of the political games at play. In Hungary, he attempted to act independently but faced strong resistance. The courtiers made it clear, "You, sir, are a puppet. Do as you are told." Not wanting to be merely a figurehead on the throne, Ladislaus moved to Prague. However, it turned out that in Bohemia, they were also not ready to share power with him. George of Podbrady had no need for advisors, and the young man who tried to engage in state affairs only irritated him. Consequently, Ladislaus was quickly sidelined. Formally, everything appeared correct. The king occupied the throne during important ceremonies, but all practical matters were handled by George. Ladislaus remained a prisoner, though not locked away in a castle. With his lips pressed together, Ladislaus bided his time. Having learned from the example of Hungary that a head-on approach was unwise, he now kept silent and contemplated. His time had not yet come. There was still much ahead. So, was it worth taking decisive action at that moment? After all, George would eventually make a mistake, or die. For this reason, Ladislaus Posthumus turned his attention to matters far removed from state affairs. He went hunting, read books, and began looking for a bride. He was introduced to the daughter of King Charles VII of France, named Madeline. In Bohemia, she was referred to as Magdalena. The prolific king would gladly marry off one of his daughters to the Czech kingdom, and Ladislaus was not opposed. He was told that the Frenchwoman was quite attractive, sensible, and, importantly, promised a large progeny if her mother was anything to go by. Negotiations for the marriage began. But, of course, King Ladislaus Posthumus did not spend his nights alone. History did not preserve the surname of the very Aliska who became his beloved, but historian Philippe de Camille asserts that she belonged to a noble family. Noble, but not noble enough to marry a king. Ladislaus was firmly resolved to marry the princess of the Valois family, which dealt a mortal blow to Aliska. As Camille writes, the young woman poisoned a knife, then used it to cut an apple, which she offered to King Ladislaus. On November 23, 1457, the unfortunate young man passed away. He was only 17 years old. George of Podbrady soon became the king of Bohemia. Rumors circulated that he had encouraged Aliska to commit the crime. The fate of the poisoner remains unknown. As for the French Princess Madeline, who could have become the Queen of Hungary and Bohemia, she married Gaston de Foix and became the mother of two rulers of another kingdom, Navarre. But that is another story. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next episodes.